grits, and politics. Show sound good to me. Oh, yes.
It's Fish, Grits, and Politics. And now, from the Breakfast Club, it's Marcus Davis.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another edition of Fish, Grits, and Politics. I am your host, Marcus Davis. Thank you all for joining us here live at the Breakfast Club. We've got a great show lined up for you today. I am super excited about the guests that we have today. We've got a civil rights icon, a living legend that will be joining us, Dr. Virgil Wood. If you don't know, you're going to learn today. Also, we'll be joined by Dr. Kevin Thompson, professor of African American Studies at the University of Houston. He'll be joining in on the dialogue as well. So I hope you're ready. I hope you're set. We've got a lot of information. We've got a healthy portion of information for you today. So if you're ready, set, let's eat.
Fish, grits, and politics. Show sound good to me. We can still break bread together even if you don't really agree. Oh, yes. So come on in and take a seat. Oh, yes. Sit back and grab something to eat. Oh, yes. Listen up, we got something to teach. Marcus is gonna blow your mind. Fish, grits, and politics. Show sound good to me. Fish, grits, and politics. Come on in, I'm sure you'll agree. Oh, yes.
Again, welcome back to Fish, Grits, and Politics. As I stated before, we're excited. We have a great show lined up for you. I only gave you a little snippet of the guests that we have. I want to introduce our other guests. I told you Dr. Virgil Wood, a civil rights icon, will be joining us, and also Dr. Thompson will be joining us as well. But we're also going to have, y'all smell that? We got some great cooking. Our palates will be delighted. Well, some of y'all, those of y'all out there, you might just have to, think about what we're eating up here. But we've got Chef Keisha Griggs of Bocage Catering. She'll be joining us. Yeah. At the end of the show, we do a little fellowship over a little food like Grandma and Mama used to do, talk about the issues, talk about what's going on, and we're going to enjoy the culinary delights of Keisha of Bocage Catering. Also, your ear's going to be blessed tonight. The lyrical genius is back. Seven, the poet. Y'all give it up for Seven. Man, did y'all see that? That boy looked like a superstar. Didn't it? I gotta give me a picture like that with those glasses. Okay, all right. Dr. Virgil Wood is our first guest. I am super. I can't say it enough. I said it 3 times. I'm elated to have him in our presence. He is a civil rights icon. He's an author. He's an educator. He marched side by side, arm in arm, with the revered Dr. Martin Luther King. Y'all give it up for the author of In Love We Trust, Dr. Virgil Wood. I want to start by thanking you, first of all, for being here. Thanking you for sharing your time with us tonight. I'm certain, a wife of decades.
Thank you for asking me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And I tell you why. That's the second half of my thanks.
Okay.
I thank you for being here, but more importantly, I thank you for the work that you've done. I thank you for the work that you've done that actually allowed us to be here on tonight. The 17 years I've been in business, the kids that I've been able to put in whatever school I choose to put them in, the people that I've been able to employ.
Great.
I thank you and applaud you for the work that you did to help make that. So, y'all got to watch out for Dr. Wood. He's a character, I got to tell you. He is a character. I invited you here tonight because I always find your story fascinating, the work that you've done to be fascinating. I was fascinated when I said, "Oh, he worked with Dr. King. That's fantastic." Then I found out a little secret.
Uh-oh.
I didn't know, for those of you I didn't know that your mentor was a man by the name of Dr. Vernon John.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know the story, Dr. King and all of his accolades, the church he pastored His predecessor was a man by the name of Vernon John. Here's the irony of the story. Dr. Vernon John was booted out of his church because they found him to be too radical because he wanted to form a bus boycott. And lo and behold, the person that they selected successfully led and participated in the bus boycott. Let's talk about the experience, how you got to the point of being a member of the board of the Southern Leadership Christian Conference, how you got to the point of being a soldier, a lieutenant in the Army for civil rights.
When I did my book, In Love We Trust, Lessons I Learned from Martin Luther King, I wanted to say, I don't think Martin was allowed to get to his mission. He said when he got the Nobel Peace Prize that I have the audacity to believe that people everywhere can have 3 meals a day for hungry stomachs, culture and learning for minds and spirits, right? In other words, he also said that we must eliminate the root causes of poverty. I'm kind of coming to your question. I grew up on a farm in Virginia that my granddaddy, one of my granddaddies, who was 15 years old, was 15 years when slavery, after slavery, he was born, 15 years after slavery. Worked coal mines in West Virginia, died at 55 from black lung disease. But he had created this farm that I grew up on. I grew up on the farm that he created. I never knew him. He died the year I was born. So when I say lessons I learned from Martin Luther King, I have to say later, lessons I learned before I was with Martin, lessons I learned from Martin, lessons I learned from Martin's daddy was more important even than that.
Right, Dr. King.
But my when I was 17, I spent a week with a man who'd been a slave. Grandpa Jackson, Grandpa Jesse was his name. And what he told me out of that experience, it's a long way to get to your question, but what he told me out of that experience was that when the announcement came that Lincoln had
Freed the slaves.
Had
emancipated or signed the
had signed emancipation, he did free us.
Right.
Lerone Bidz said,
I'm with you.
He fired us. He didn't
Right.
free us. Right? And instead, people don't know that Lincoln was racist.
Yes, he was.
But you know what's beautiful about that, and this is important because don't stop because somebody's a racist. Just make them do the right thing.
Just make them do the right thing.
When we went,
Compel them to do the right thing.
That's right. Well, you have to trick them into it.
Right. All right.
You have to get them to do the right thing when they don't even know what they're doing until it's all over.
So, in that vein, my study of the civil rights movement exposed just that. The idea that there was a lot of, I'm going to get you to do even the things that you don't want to do. Right. There are a lot of initiatives, a lot of works, a lot of efforts and strategies of the SCLC and Dr. King and your colleagues that did just that. We're going to force them to do such a thing.
No. We're going to induce it.
Okay.
It's like childbirth.
Right.
You can't force the baby out. You got to. What do I know about childbirth? My wife told me that when she was in with our first baby in the recovery room, and all the women was there cussing their husbands out. But
induce it.
Yeah. You got to work with the baby. The baby is being born.
Right.
And it's trying to get through that. Am I right, ladies? I don't know about that.
Preach, Doc. Preach.
But the doctor has to work with it. You know, it's like you can't pull it. You got to let it. You know.
I got it.
I think that's.
But it's got to be born.
It's got to be born.
Got to be born.
And you got to let it be born, though. You can't make it be born. You got to let it be born.
So let's get to that. We talked about the SCLC. We talked about your work with Dr. King. I want to fast forward a little bit to.
Sure.
One of the things I invite, and I'll invite you, those that are watching and those that are here, I always invite people to go and listen to two things. One, the last speech of Malcolm X, and the last speech of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Very good.
And not the short version, the long version. It's about 45 minutes, so you got to take a little time.
That's good.
And in that speech, and I say both because both of them are very similar.
That's right.
Contrary to what society wants to tell us, those two, the last speeches were very similar. But in those speeches, there was a lot of instruction that was given out. I equate it to the Last Supper. where
very good.
the Great Commission was
Yes.
go out.
I love it.
And included in that was go out and strengthen your community. Not just wait on other people to do other
right.
things.
Exactly.
But strengthen your community, starting with the economics.
Absolutely. If you don't get the economics right, nothing else works.
Right.
And I mentioned that Martin never really got to his mission, and we didn't have sense enough to keep him alive.
How do you say? Why do you say?
Well, a Cuban told me, I was at Harvard doing my doctorate, and the Cuban colleague told me, he said, you know, you all had a Martin Luther King, you didn't even know what you had, Malcolm as well. He said, if we hadn't had a Martin Luther King and Malcolm, we would have made sure they had time enough to work through all of the intricacies and the complexities of where we're trying to go, so that we would know what grows out of their thought. King gave us formula for fixing stuff. We ain't fixed none of it yet.
Well, I want to go to something that you and I shared before.
Yes.
Because the rule is leadership is about putting the plan in place and watching the execution take place. You and I talked about something that you heard Ozzie Davis say was, let's stop depending on one person.
That's right.
Let's put a plan in place, and if we lose that one person,
it's the plan, not the man.
It's the plan, not the man.
Right.
The way I share it is that here we say we cook by process and not by person.
I like that.
So if Mary Sue don't show up today, the process is in place.
Exactly.
Dr. King's book, one of my favorites, is Where Do We Go From Here? That was 50 years ago.
That's right.
The question is, where did we go?
Very good.
Where are we today?
Well, here's where we are.
And more importantly,
Yes.
how did we get here?
Here's where we are. When Martin left us, black folks were in prison in the same proportions as the mainstream population. We know the story now.
Right.
Mass incarceration is one of the results of all of our missteps. I like to say, I'm not going to give racism more than 49%. I'd say if you're being held back by 49% force and you got 51%, then why is mourning and crying? Like, for example, black folks handle $1 trillion cash flow every year, right now, and crying pole mouth all the time. We ought to shut up and make our money work for us.
No, I'm gonna wait while you say that one more time. I'm gonna wait while you say that one more time.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because I can't tell him that.
Okay, well that's good gospel. You
well,
keep
I'm gonna repeat what he said.
You keep
Stop
telling.
pole mouthing and shut up and act like you got the money that you got.
And make your money work for you.
Now
make your money work for you.
Let's draw a comparison. I just used the last speech that Dr. King gave, which was over 50 years ago.
Yeah.
At that time, the number that he mentioned was $30 billion.
That's right.
Here we are 50 years later sitting on $1 trillion.
Absolutely.
Have we been good stewards?
No, we have not. We have not. It starts with a lie that you believe. If somebody tells a lie on you and you believe it, that ain't their fault that they told a lie. It's your fault that you believed the lie, right? So
it's okay to say amen, y'all.
So here's the other thing about America now. Next year, 400 years since Jamestown, 1619, our people came here, were brought here. I don't know whether we were brought or sent. We'll go about that later. But 400 years, right? We are not supposed to be here with all the stuff that's been thrown at us.
Right.
There is a built-in, Black Wall Street. It's in the American gene set. Antipathy and anger against black progress.
Right.
So we have to believe for ourselves. If nobody else believes, I like to say, black folks ain't got but one friend. You know who that is?
We all we got.
No, we ain't even friends of ourselves.
Wow.
Black folks are not even friends of themselves. Jesus is the only friend black folks got. The only friend black folks got. But what I'm saying is that we are still here because the old folks are smarter than us. I don't care how many degrees we got. When I go to colleges and speak on college campuses, I ask these kids, how many of you know that your grandmama is smarter than you? Right?
Well, and here's in the vein of what you're saying, here's what I share. The generation or two before us were able to successfully maneuver through so much murk and mud without the resources that we have today.
Absolutely. They had nothing and did much with
it. And they were able to figure it out.
That's right. First 50 years out of slavery, We created the institutional infrastructure of our survival. We're still surviving on what folks did first 50 years of slavery. They had nothing. They built over 100 black colleges and universities. Now we got $1 trillion, and we can't keep our schools open.
We're still surviving off of what was done in the first 50 years. The question that I have asked, this is something that I challenge myself with on a daily basis when I wake up and I have to face the man in the mirror. I ask myself, am I honoring those that came before me?
Good.
Am I repaying the debt of people such as yourself and the people that paved the way for you?
I like that.
And am I emulating that behavior by paving a way for the youth that are here today? We're going to answer that question when we come back. We got to take a quick break.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all for listening. We're going to take a quick break. Y'all stay tuned. We got a friend joining us. Y'all share this page. Y'all tell a friend. Dr. Virgil Wood, Fish, Grits, and Politics. Welcome back to Fish, Grits, and Politics. This is what they call TV magic. We left with 2 and we came back with 3. It's like, y'all see the cooking that happened on TV, right? When they put it in the oven in 5 minutes, something that's supposed to take 2 hours is automatically ready. Speaking of cooking, y'all stay tuned. We got Chef Keisha over there cooking. Yeah. Y'all smell that? Yeah. Y'all out there in Facebook land, I'm sorry, but y'all can scratch and sniff. Man, you know, that's the best we're gonna give you. We were talking to Dr. Virgil Wood, civil rights icon, author of In Love We Trust, former board member of the SCLC, and a friend and colleague and a soldier alongside of Dr. Martin Luther King. Joining us here now, Professor of African American Studies at the University of Houston. Good morning, Dr. Thompson, welcome. I'm doing fantastic. That's good. Good to have you here. So we left off talking about something that I personally do, which is to ask the question of whether or not we're honoring those that paved the way, whether we're repaying the debt. And I want to get some thoughts from you on that. And here's why I asked that. And I've heard you talked about comfort. Here's why I asked that. We drive our nice cars. We live in our nice homes. We have our degrees. And somewhere in there, we believe that we did that. Yes, you went to class and you did it, right? But somewhere we forget the fact that the only reason you were able to go to that university is because of those that came before you. And the only reason you have the liberty to go to different businesses or to choose which business is because of those that came before us. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, if we don't get it right now,
right.
Here's what's going to happen. My work now, I'm 87. I've been in this work since I was 17. I'm doing the most important work I've ever done in my life.
I called him. I said, Doc, I need to talk to you. He said, I need to talk to you. I'm doing the most important work I ever done in my life. I said, Doc, you 80.
87.
87.
Yeah.
And he said, still, this is the most important. And that should say something. Did you ever think that 50 years after the biggest fight you've ever been in, which is the fight against Jim Crow, did you ever think that you'd be in the most important work of your life after the most important work of your life?
You know, every stage of your life should give you a new goal and a new vision. Here's what disturbs me. Our kids killing themselves. Yeah. Killing each other. Well-off kids killing themselves, right? Right. Shooting up schools, all that stuff. If I had 5 minutes with any of those kids before they did that, I'm guaranteed that I could turn that around. And I'll tell you why. I did 10 years in the slums of Boston, and I learned that if you involve poor folks in their own fight and don't fool them, and don't eat the sheep, feed the sheep, don't eat the sheep, right?
We got to talk about
that. Yeah, absolutely. We got to. But if you do that, the people will fight their own fight. And you were just talking about, yes, you do need a leader, but the leader blends in with the people so that the people and the leader are one in terms of how do we do this. I think the people have to say what the questions are, and the leaders have to help them find the resources to answer their own questions.
You know what? I want to shift this to what I just mentioned before. You're from Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
And we just talked about you being in the most important work of your time,
Right.
50 years later. But 50 years later, we're still electing people from your state, your home state, who admit that if their constituents asked them, they would participate or they would go to a public lynching. How did we, what's your thoughts on that? And Doc, you can tell me how we're still here.
I'm going to say something very controversial and clear it up. Mississippi is something that we all should strive to be consistent.
Wow. 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 That, I'd say amen is okay, y'all. Amen.
And here's what I mean by that. I was rooting for Mike Espy,
Right.
Yeah.
but I knew who was going to win by sheer numbers alone. But here's the kicker, Dr. Wood. You had 9% who voted for Senator Hyde Smith,
Right.
given the history.
Yeah, yeah.
Because prior to the 60s, we voted Republican.
Right, right.
There were a lot of pastors
Who voted?
who sided with.
When you
Senator Hyde
when you
Smith.
say there was a lot of pastors, which
Take me to him, I'm gonna
pastors?
slap him.
I tell you what, start on the coast.
Some black pastors?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah.
I want to chime in on that. I once heard a man say in a speech, it's important to have a relevant ministry. Your friend, Dr. King, talked about a relevant ministry. Here's the question, and y'all hold your mule. We've taken a lot of our leadership from the black church, including in the 1960s, especially in the 1960s. Have we been failed?
Do you know there were only 40 black preachers with Martin? Whole country.
In my home city, I heard stories of him being of tear gas being placed in the building that he was to speak in, and not being accepted in many pulpits. Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't like to focus too much on who's not doing.
Got it.
I want to find the people who are doing and want to do it. We're gonna get together. You don't need the masses to do this.
Which is an illusion that a lot of us have.
Absolutely.
That everybody in 1965 and
If
1968.
it's something you believe you should do,
Yeah.
go do it. But leave space for people to join you who would like to join you if you don't have too much fire coming out of your mouth. what the preachers told me,
Right.
Thompson, that I was spitting fire. I was.
Right.
And so the fire drew them. That was a mistake. I shouldn't have been having fire.
Well, you mentioned a comment earlier. You said, "Don't eat the sheep, feed the sheep."
Yeah, that's right.
Which is in reference to the leadership of the clergy.
But now all the black politicians do that.
Right.
They all do it.
Right.
We have to be careful that we don't understand that we're so grabbing and we're just grabbing for stuff rather than say, how do I build for myself and my family while I help us to build for us as a community and as a people.
Right.
That $1 trillion could become $7 trillion in 10 years, and I know how to do it.
I mentioned earlier that $1 trillion was simply $30 billion when that initial speech was made.
Right, exactly.
And the way today, its weight is even greater, not just because it's more money, but its weight is more significant.
Right.
Here's one of the things that I want to ask about, because you mentioned politicians. For the last 50 years, and Doc, I want you to comment on this. For the last 50 years, we have been blindly aligned, and Dr. King talked about blind allegiance, not necessarily in the vein I'm speaking of, but we've been blindly aligned as African Americans to the Democratic Party. Over those 50 years, we've built more prisons. The wealth disparity has grown. Unemployment, or the disparity of unemployment with African Americans has grown.
Right.
And our educational institutions have continued to suffer.
Right.
What's with that? What's the story with that? And what should we be doing about that?
If it were me,
It is you.
I align myself with Dr. Claude Anderson. I vote, but when I say vote, that is equated with renting. So when I rent a car and it doesn't do what I need it to do, I swap it out.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
So we're trained here.
Even if that means you used to drive Mercedes, are you willing to switch to BMW?
Look here, if that Chevy's gonna get me to point A to point B,
Wow.
and the Mercedes is shut me down because the maintenance is so high,
Right.
let me get a Chevy.
Mercedes people,
You see what I'm saying?
are killing me.
Because here's the thing,
Mercedes.
we come from a culture that values tradition
Right.
and history. So when we have a history with a person, even if it's negative, we cling to them.
Wow.
If you flip that and say, you know what, I'm gonna vote you into this 4-year term, right? But you got 6 months to show me something.
That's good. That's good.
Special election, out. That's me. That's
you.
me. I mean, I'm pretty radical, but that's me.
We need to empower him to do that.
Neither party is for us. Neither party.
Right.
Now,
Say it.
that's number
What?
one. No. Neither party is for us. That's number one.
Right.
Number two,
That-
talking about 2020 now, I want in the White House, I want a black woman and a white woman, one Democrat, one Republican. and if they're grandmas, that's even better.
If their grandmas has
Right.
even, that's
I
even
believe
better.
we turn the
Right.
world over to grandma. For 2 weeks, they fix it.
They fix
Right.
everything.
They would.
Look, speaking of grandma, all of a sudden I'm in the mood for some grandma's cooking because I smell some victuals being cooked.
is.
All right, y'all stay tuned. We're gonna take a break. Chef Keisha is over there cooking up some great victuals for us to try, for us to taste. We're gonna go over there and see what she's cooking up in just a second. We'll be right back with you.
Fish, grits, and politics sure sound good to me. We can still break bread together even if you don't really agree. Oh, yes. So come on in and take a seat. Oh, yes. Sit back and grab something to eat. Oh, yes. Listen up, we got something to teach. My guest is gonna blow your mind. Fish, grits, and politics sure sound good to me. Fish, grits, and politics. Come on in, I'm sure you'll agree. Oh, yes.
Welcome back to Fish, Grits, and Politics. I am Marcus Davis, and I have been teased for the last 20 minutes by these delicious smells that have been coming over here, over to me from Chef Keisha. Good morning, and welcome to Fish, Grits, and Politics. It's always morning in my world. Don't worry about that. Yeah.
Good morning as well.
Yeah. Well, tell us what we got. It smells good. I'm looking forward to it tasting good. What have you prepared for us today?
Okay, so I'm of Trinidadian descent. So the food that we cook over at the kitchen is primarily island-inspired food. So for today, we're going to have something called a majura rice. A lot of people don't know that in the Caribbean, there is a lot of Indian influence. So we have majura rice. We have a pan-seared cod with a scented curry. And then we have a bhaji, which is what we call, it's an Indian dish, but it's spinach steeped in coconut milk and kind of cooked down.
Man, this sounds, I'm hungry already.
All right.
Let's get started. Let's
All
go.
right, so for the rice, it's super simple.
You need me to do anything?
No,
Okay,
actually,
'cause I
just
can-
stand
I can do a little
there,
bit.
You know. So the rice is made up, the seasoning is what makes the rice. So it's made up with chili, cumin, coriander, thyme, cinnamon. So basically this is basmati rice that we just cooked. And then we've made our lentils separately. When you're cooking lentils to mix with rice, you kind of want to make it a little bit al dente. Al dente, does anyone know what al dente means? Okay. So we're going to...
I know what all hungry is.
We're going to add a little bit of celery, a little bit of red bell pepper, some garlic,
Let me put one of them in.
You want to put one of them?
Yeah,
Okay. We're going to do the ginger.
All right, let me do a little ginger. All right, keep going.
And then we're going to add our rice.
Once or twice before.
We're going to stir that up a little bit. We're going to add our rice to the mix.
All right. Now, tell me the story about the rice again.
So this is a Middle Eastern rice dish, actually. So it's like a fried rice. It's just a Middle Eastern fried rice, same way that we do an Asian fried rice. You can do that with all types of flavors. Caribbean fried rice, Indian fried rice. It's not exclusive to Asian food. So we're just going to stir in the rice. The most important thing is our seasonings. So again, that's a mixture of this. And we're just going to add that to the rice.
Now, is this a staple Trinidadian dish, or what was the inspiration behind this dish?
This is not a staple Trinidadian dish. However, I incorporate flavors over at 8 Kitchen. Come visit us. From all over the world, primarily Asia and the Caribbean. So the flavors, the cumin, the chili, the coriander, the thyme, those are Caribbean flavors as well. So then we're just going to add in our lentils, which we cooked in chicken stock, a little bit of garlic, tomato. And stir that in.
Yep, write that down, because I'm going to want to try this a little later on. And
so then add a little bit of salt and pepper, and guys, that's your rice. So we're going to leave that going a little bit while we get our fish going.
I know y'all out at Facebook, y'all can't see this, y'all can't smell it. Y'all can see it, you can't smell it. And I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be rude, but man, this smells good. It smells fantastic.
All right. So
and it's going to taste even better. So if you hear...
Sorry, y'all.
All right. I'm not going to tease them no more.
So for your fish...
What kind of fish do we have?
This is cod.
Okay.
And cod is just a flaky white fish.
Why did you choose cod?
Because it cooks really fast, and it's flaky, and it's white, and it's something that will pair well with the curry. Curry's a strong flavor. And Caribbean Trinidadian curry is different than your Asian curry. It's less sweet. So we have our curry paste that we normally make. I'm going to let this fish sear down a little bit. While that's going, however, the bhaji is basically spinach, ginger, shallots, red onions, cilantro, and we make a thing in the islands called green seasoning. It's our Lowry's, if you will. So it is green onions, garlic, cilantro, and celery blended. And we add this instead of, it's raw.
I gotta try it. Y'all pray for me.
So we just add the spinach and the coconut milk, and we literally just put it on a low simmer. And it cooks down into this velvety kind of consistency, and the coconut and the spinach adds just an amazing flavor. I also do this at the kitchen, but I add peanut butter to it, and that's a gullah green.
Okay, tell them again where the kitchen is, because you mentioned.
Kitchen is, I'm a full-service caterer with Bocage Catering, and I serve lunch Monday through Friday at 8 Kitchen from 11 to 2. The menu changes every week. We source locally, that's why.
It is, and I'm going to say, it is the cutest place. It's cool, it's quaint. Had lunch there and thoroughly enjoyed it.
So we're going to flip our fish. Anyone know the secret to a really good seared fish?
Tell us.
Dry fish. So making sure your fish is dry before you add it to the oil is going to make it sear properly, and then you'll be able to, because have you ever pan sear fish and it sticks to the pot and you're like, Lord, why? It's because your fish was too wet.
Now let me ask you, is that your chef training or is that your Trinidadian training? Which one is that?
That is my chef training.
That is, all right.
We don't sear fish in the islands like that. We throw it over a grill hole. So we're just going to flip this over. This is our curry base.
Doc, I see you over there with your mouth open. Both of y'all over there, I see you. We coming back to Dr. Thompson and our beloved icon, Dr. Virgil Wood. I'm gonna bring y'all some of that over there, all right? I know you're smelling it.
I'm just finishing it with a little Marsala wine, and then we're ready to plate. And then the spinach, once it's been cooked down, it looks just like this.
All right, I'm great with how it looks.
You ready for it to eat some good stuff?
I'm ready for how it tastes.
All right, well then I'll plate it up.
Speaking of ready for how it tastes, I am ready for my ears to taste the lyrical genius, the words of Seven, the poet. If y'all ready, if y'all haven't heard him, shame on you. If you have, y'all give it up for Seven, the poet.
He informed me that it was worth it. He said, I'm God's humble servant. I am here to do a service. It is my hope that our community would flourish. Our efforts will become concerted, that as a people, we identify our higher purpose. He said to me, it is worth it that I tell the future generation that having an abundance of money and being financially illiterate does not, will not, won't equate to wealth. It only buys them time, buys them a visual image trying to keep up with the Joneses, and eventually all they're left with is nickels and dimes. Blind, so they buy bling. Materialistic, they buy things. Blind, so when the TV comes on, it's easy to sell them dreams. He said, I must tell them that it's about knowing your worth and your self-value, not the value of what you purchase. He said to me, dear friends, it is worth it that I be active and not apathetic. Faith without work is dead, so if you're just talking, it's rhetoric. We must teach our children social etiquette, set an exemplary standard of ethics that respect must be given if you expect it. He said it's worth it I tell them academically and professionally, when you reach the glass ceiling, you are the architect of your future. Build a bigger building. Reach for the stars without yielding. Never suppress the notion to express yourself. So if ever you get the feeling, say it, do it, believe it, achieve it. Eat, sleep, walk it out, and breathe it. You can be it. Your biggest regret will be if you don't try. So don't be afraid to fail. For none of us are without error, unflawed, or perfect. He said to me, dear friends, it is worth it that we teach them our history, that they don't repeat our past, that we teach them refinement so they prudently exude class, that we teach them about culture, that the fine arts will be appreciated, that we teach them about law so injustice will not be tolerated. Let us teach them, prepare them, educate, exonerate, create a communal compassion that is clearly conscientious and conspicuous when we communicate. Great we are today, greater we shall be. And proudly I accept the responsibility bestowed upon me. Can't sit down now, so I'll stand in the gap. And when this journey's over, I'll reflect and look back at the lives I've touched, the battles I've fought. And I don't expect the record to reflect perfect. But in my heart of my hearts, at the end of the day, I know I did my best, and it was worth it.
Fish, grits, and politics sure sound good to me. We can still break bread together, even if you don't really agree. Oh, yes. So come on in and take a seat. Oh, yes. Sit back and grab something to eat. Oh, yes. Listen up, we got something to teach. My guess is gonna blow your mind. Fish, grits, and politics sure sound good to me. Fish, grits, and politics. Come on in, I'm sure you'll agree. Oh, yes.
Welcome back to Fish, Grits, and Politics. I am your host, Marcus Davis. Thank you all for joining us live on Facebook, and thank you to studio audience for joining us. Y'all give yourselves a round of applause. Yeah. And you at home, y'all can clap for yourself too. We appreciate you participating. This is the part where what we call the fellowship. You know, it is traditional for families to get together and engage in dialogue over food. I mean, what better place to do it than at the dinner table? And we just want to carry on our conversation here at the dinner table with Dr. Thompson, Dr. Virgil Wood, Seven the Poet. Y'all give it up for the chef. All right. Keisha Bakar. So I want to pick up on our conversation. I want to, before we do that, I want to do what my papa say: good bread, good meat. Good Lord, let's eat.
I like that.
Right? And I want to express my gratitude for Grace is about gratitude. I'm grateful for you all being here. I'm grateful for you all joining us. I'm grateful for the food that we have, and I'm grateful for the discussion that we're having. Let's eat. So Doc, one of the questions that I want to pitch to you, because we've talked a lot about economic empowerment, our role, our responsibility. And one of the recurring themes that we often wrestle with is the use of or this concept of segregation versus integration. And I'm sure that y'all have heard this before, right? Where some people may say, you know what, worst thing could happen to us is integration. One of the quotes of Dr. King was, I fear that I have integrated my people into a burning house. Now, I have challenged, not that quote, but I've challenged this concept or the premise that segregation is bad, integration is bad, excuse me. My belief is that integration is a tool, and how you choose to use it is good or bad.
I like that. That's good.
So I'll let y'all chime in on your thoughts.
Well, the only problem with integration is we didn't integrate the money.
Wow.
That's where it's
What I tell
significant.
y'all, amen is good.
If I had to speak on the integration thing, I would think that, or this is in my opinion, when we were absent of our culture, when you invite another culture in, that culture, you run the risk of that culture becoming dominant. I see things that we have taken on as a culture that 5 years ago, that was not happening in our homes and with our children. Integration has brought on a different set of problems. And I'll say this also, this might strike a fire, sir.
You've never struck a fire before, Seven.
The integration, though, that is my own little dirty joke, is to hear the other cultures use the N-word. It's kind of like I giggle, like, joke's on you. You know what I mean?
What's your thought, Chef?
Our thoughts on integration. I believe that because of it, like Seven said, the loss of self-love went away as well. The idea of wanting to be a part of a system that, to us, we're taught looked better than what we came from. I think that's did not benefit us in the long run. I think that we lost a sense of who we are because of our desire to be a part of a fabric that is not made for us.
I want to hear from you, Kevin, but I want to deal with what Doc said, which was we didn't integrate the money.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I agree with the culture and certain aspects, and I suspect that would have been a natural amalgamation or attrition, not necessarily a loss, and I'm with that. But I mentioned earlier, both Malcolm and Martin talked about, and this is why I said I'm gonna go back to the tool, right? I've watched other ethnicities use this tool successfully while maintaining who they are. Their culture. They come into the general market, they contribute, they take out, and they take it back to where it belongs. Integration was not about you can eat at Le Peep instead of the Breakfast Club. This was you have the right to not be denied, but I'm still going where I should in order to circulate my dollar.
That's right. That's right.
Your thought?
They can tie themselves back to a land. And here's what I mean. Sister, where are you from?
My family's from Trinidad.
From Trinidad. You know exactly the neighborhood and location?
Yes.
Roundabout?
Yes.
So you have a strong root that was taught to you, right? To have pride in your homeland.
Right.
As an African American, I can only tie myself back to
The shores.
a continent. The shore. Don't even know which shore. Right? So the national pride that I feel comes out of pain. It comes, this still birth of an identity. So I've been taken from my home. I've forgotten my native tongue, my native cultures, my native beliefs, and I'm brought here. And strategically, my kinsmen are placed on other plantations. So I have nobody to relate to.
And other islands.
And
I
other
always tell
islands,
people the difference between folks in
That's right.
America and the Caribbean. It's like they are cousins. They just got dropped off on the boat a little bit early, a little later.
It's a boat stop.
So listen, I agree with what you're saying. But the reality is we're in today's reality.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And the question is, how do we perform in a way that benefits us in spite of the lack of the ability to identify. I was watching a show earlier today. He said, man, he was remodeling or repairing a car, and he was so excited because it was the car that his great-grandfather taught his grandfather how to drive, and his dad had it. And I said, that's fantastic. Unfortunately, when your great-grandfather was driving that car, my great-grandfather was somewhere picking on somebody's field, right? But that's our reality.
Sure.
The question is, how do we use that reality, and in spite of what has happened with the diminishment of our cultural ways, with the extraction of some of the things, with the lack of knowledge, how do we still move forward?
Teach collective economics. And here's what I mean. There are a lot of commercial buildings down here. I may not be able to buy it by myself. I put my pennies with Dr. Wood's pennies, your pennies, your pennies, your pennies, and we can buy it, right? You have this restaurant here. Every black person in the city should go here. But in turn, every black business that you can see and you can support, you take the opportunity to support it. So what other cultures do, they keep the money in-house, right? So when it's time to vote somebody, Asians really don't care because Chinatown is straight.
It's all about what happens with our dollar.
What happened with my dollar? They got 2 banks. If you go off of what, Bel Air and the Beltway?
It's more than 2. But
Right, more than 2.
Let me say this, and this is a very, very serious note. This food is so damn good.
It's smacking.
Look, I look to my left, 7, I'm like, bro. Our featured guest has just gone silent on us. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you.
This is related to a recent situation that's been super popular but then died down here within the last couple of weeks. African Americans are the descendants of a people that fought through the shackles and broke the shackles of slavery.
That's right.
Because they believed that they could, and because they believed it was necessary. We are also the descendants of a people that stared Jim Crow in the face and then kicked him in his cojones
That's right.
and broke through. We're the same people that fought the United States of America and demanded our right to vote. We had the Constitution changed.
That's right.
Within the last 2 years, the NFL became an issue in the African American community. One, a brother standing up saying that he was going to stand up against police brutality and official oppression. But 2, the second one, which is the bigger one for me, which is the freedom of speech, which is you can't express yourself because you are on my plantation.
Right.
The things that I heard, the response that I heard was, we can't fight the NFL. They're too big. They're too bad. They're too bold. They're the 800-pound gorilla. Okay. How did the descendants of a people who fought an 8 million-pound gorilla of slavery, an 800,000-pound gorilla of Jim Crow, cower in the face of an entity that they had the power to defeat? How did we get here?
You notice when the old folks, like grandparents, even the older for many here, they didn't go around making a lot of speeches. They got it done. God has put us in the driver's seat now. When you're in a car, everybody's drunk except you, and you sit there and go over the cliff with them. That's your fault, not theirs. That's number one.
Right.
Number 2, America now does not work even for the powerful and the most powerful, wealthy and the rest, black or white. Does not work for them when their children are killing themselves.
Right.
Right? Kids putting a bullet to their own head or at somebody else.
Right.
That America is not working for anybody. Nobody wants what we got now. And no one is stepping up with a way forward that is not tied to the mess of the past. I'm sick and tired of black folks sitting around acting like racism and stuff against us is overwhelming. It's not overwhelming unless you let it be. Wow. And I want to tell you something. We got to help our children understand, failing schools, mass incarceration, all that. So we got to turn that around. We've got to get the franchise.
Who's got to turn that around?
We. We've got to get the franchise back on our people's minds. That's what we gave up. That's what we get, the franchise on our own mind. That doesn't mean we against anybody else. Hell no.
Just
We
mean
hope
for
you're going to
ourselves.
make it too. In fact, we'll show you how we do it. Look at opioids. Look at the opioid thing, right? Now, that's white folks on drugs, right? That's right. And they planted drugs in our community and criminalized it. Now, white folks on drugs, and they say, let's fix this thing. How are we going to fix this thing? But we came through it. We came through it. In my book, I write on Malcolm's self-transformation. Malcolm created his own process of transformation. I call it Malcolmization. It's a very specific kind of thing. And we got to put that out here because we need Malcolm and Martin. The genius of Malcolm and the genius of Martin met in the middle at the end. Because Martin was too easy on racism. Malcolm was too hard on it. And when he met those Muslims who had blue eyes, and he said, I met some people who were not hung up on color. And when you see that picture of Malcolm and Martin, they're literally grinning at each other. They're so happy to be with each other. And the other thing
that's the position we've got to take.
Let me just throw this
one
in.
more, because we got to take a break.
Yeah, but I want to throw this in. A lot of people don't understand Martin's first speech in August 28th. They think that was, can we all just get along? Hell no, that wasn't what it was. The first thing out of Martin's mouth was, we've come here to collect on a bad check.
On a debt,
On the debt, right? Now watch this. We are so enamored of talking about the debt rather than collecting. I should just shut up and go get the money.
I told y'all he was a firecracker, and I'm hopeful, and I mean this with all sincerity. I am hopeful that we won't leave this place tonight the way we came in. I want to thank Dr. Virgil Wood for joining us, and I want to thank you for your words of wisdom. I want to thank Dr. Thompson for joining us. Seven for blessing us with the words, and the chef for blessing us with the food, and I want to thank y'all for blessing us with your presence. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be back for the last bite. That's our time. That's our show. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us. I want to thank the studio audience. Y'all give it up for yourself. I want to thank our guests. I want to thank Chef Keisha for cooking up a great meal. I want to thank Seven the Poet for blessing our ears with great lyrics. I want to thank Dr. Thompson for continuing to teach the African American Studies to our collegiate students. And of course, the man who did the marching, the man who did the protest, and the man that did the work to get legislation changed for you and I want to thank Dr. Virgil Wood. Y'all give it up for him. And I want to thank all of you that are joining us on Facebook Live. Thank you for your time. I hope that this was worth your while. I hope you enjoyed the meal that we shared with you. Not, I know you didn't get to eat the food, but you got to eat the food. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you digested. I hope you'll share this on your page, as well as including the hashtag Fish, Grits, and Politics. I want to leave you with the last bite. Each show we try to leave you with the last bite because I don't want to just talk about what had happened was. I want to talk about what we can do, what we can be. I invited you at the beginning of the program, and I'll invite you here at the end to take a look at Dr. King's last speech in its entirety. It's about 45 minutes long. You can find it on YouTube, and I want to invite you to take a listen to it. Because in that speech, he lays out a plan, an opportunity for us to be successful, an opportunity to lift the hand of oppression. And I will give you a summary of what I believe are the three stools, the three legs that will help make life better under the hand of oppression. One, if we begin to become civically engaged in our community, And I'm not talking about on a surface level. I'm talking about on a deep level. Get involved in your super neighborhood program. Get involved in your local legislation, your city council. Get involved, know who your state rep is, know who your federal congressional rep is, and be involved in the work that they're doing. Go a step further and give them the agenda that you want to see happen in your community. Let's move away from, if I vote for you, what are you going to do for me? And let's move to giving them, this is what I expect of you, as Dr. Thompson said, and this is what we will hold you accountable for. Secondly, Dr. King was very specific about keeping our institutions healthy. We have historically black colleges and universities across this country. We have 2 in my city. If we would tend to the fact that those are historically black colleges and universities, and African Americans would make sure that we build up the endowments and provide scholarships and lift those universities, those institutions, and prop them up, we'd win. If we look at the organizations that are already doing work, local community organizations to the NAACP and the Urban League, and get involved, share our resources, both our time and our money. Lastly, if we take the circulation of the dollar as serious as both Malcolm and Martin suggested that we should, if we make sure that we're very deliberate in who we spend our money with, and make sure we are very deliberate in how we hold them accountable for the things that ought to be done in our community, I believe we will see a brighter and better day. That's our time. Thank you for joining us on Fish, Grits, and Politics. We'll see you next time when it's time to eat. Peace.